Hello everyone. This is Jerry again. I want to finish up this part two here, and why traditional savings is overrated, part two. What I'm going to discuss here is degree of car ownership. I kind of like things in moderation. I used to own a Corvette when I was 19 years old. It was so cool. Still is. A friend of mine owned one. He used to let me drive it. Guess what? Boy, did it have a lot of power. But it jerked around a lot when you shifted gears. I decided it wouldn't be that fun to drive after all. I got over that pretty quick. I decided my old Bel Air Chevrolet was easier to drive. The point I'm trying to make is most people have a lot more car, truck, SUV than they need. A 19-year-old certainly doesn't need a Corvette, but my 23-year-old friend had a good job, was going to college, and that was probably okay for him. Sometimes you just can't help yourself. You want a new car. Well, I'm here to tell you that it's the number one way to lose money with very, very few exceptions. Even if you pay cash for it, it's a money loser. Most of us pay retail when we buy and sell wholesale when we sell or trade it in. It's the nature of the car business. I don't care what they say, $100 over invoice, 0%, you're still paying retail. I suggest you cut your losses on this urge to buy a new car and buy a used one instead. Why? Because even if you buy used through a dealer, the former owner has already taken the first depreciation hit. That first hit after the owner bought it was 25% of the cost of the vehicle in the first year of ownership. If we're talking $20,000 vehicle, that'd be $5,000 in depreciation. If you happen to buy the car for $15,000 from the dealer probably picked it up for about $13,000 from the previous owner. These amounts are just staggering. Vehicles depreciate at a rate of 25% the first year, another 15% for the next 2 years each, and then 10% a year after until they reach the salvage value. So after 3 years, the vehicle you bought for $20,000, not including interest, taxes, and so on, is only worth $10,837. With good maintenance, most vehicles would last 7 to 10 years, but it depends on the maintenance and the type of owners it had. I like to buy a vehicle about 3 years old with 36,000 miles on it. That works for me. Anyway, I'll tell you a little story about the degree of car ownership. One time I had a couple buying a house from me on owner finance mortgage. I was the sole owner. I drove an old 10-year-old beat up Chevy truck around the neighborhood to do maintenance on my properties and to collect rent or mortgage payments when they didn't come in the mail on time. On this occasion, I was over there inquiring why the house payment was late again. In the driveway were two brand new vehicles, a new small pickup for her and a new big pickup for him. Now, this is normally not my business, but she asked me. I don't know what to do. We don't have any money right now. And I told her if those vehicles were theirs, they might consider trading down to one vehicle. She said, "Oh, we owe more on them than they're worth." And I said, "My advice to you is to cut your losses. It's only get worse from here." Well, my advice was not heeded. They missed more payments and were forced to get a loan elsewhere and pay me off to prevent foreclosure. They didn't lose the house, but it was a close call for them. This is a blatant case of too much car ownership in proportion to net worth. The bottom line is that revolving cycle of new car ownership is a one-way ticket to financial ruin unless you have the expendable income to cover it, like the wealthy people do. They can cover these kind of revolving cycle of new car ownership. Doesn't bother them a bit. A better solution, as I have pointed out earlier, would be to consider purchasing a used car. There's another option to those who just like to buy a new car. You don't like used cars because you had a bad experience. Okay, this will work too. Go ahead and buy a new car. But here's the catch. Plan to keep it for 7 years. What? 7 years? Wow. Well, because after 7 years, most cars have a value level that they will not depreciate much further. Also, you have spread the cost of depreciation out over 7 years instead of 2 or 3 years. The longer you keep that car after 7 years, the more you save on depreciation. You will probably spend some money on maintenance during this time, but it's still cheaper than buying new. You may ask, what's this all got to do with saving money or not saving money in the traditional sense? What's it got to do with real estate? Well, we'll be talking about that, about depreciation, but real estate has depreciation too. Single family homes have depreciation. You might ask, what's wrong with putting money in a bank or credit union savings account and let it grow? Nothing. If that works by you, all means go ahead. Everybody needs savings and cash available for planned, unplanned, or emergency expenditures, and also a nest egg for future investment opportunities. I have savings. I put money in a bank or credit union. Beyond that, I would propose your savings be in the form of appreciating assets. Unfortunately, most people save money to spend on depreciating assets. In order to succeed in real estate, you must reverse your mindset of owning or buying depreciating assets with this nest egg of savings. It'll wipe you out. I'm using some time discussing the object of depreciation because it is so important. Depreciation is a pretty sneaky thief of your hard-earned money. It will eat away the value of most everything you own. We've already talked about how depreciation affects the number one expense in your budget, the family car. But how about things that cost quite a sum of money but it's hard to put a value on, such as college future, the child's future college education, a family education, your daughter's upcoming wedding, etc.? Are you supposed to forget about these because they cost money and have no market value? Of course not. These are major events in your family's life where funding the expenditure must be planned. These are priceless events that cannot come under the normal definition of assets. I will not be discussing these priceless assets here. They are to be left with each family's priority in life. It's not for me to say which is the most priority in your life. It's a free country and you have your own free will. You can do what you want to. Thank you for being here. So long.